Gardening teaches us many wonderful things. It teaches patience, for one. We wait for seeds to sprout. We wait for flowers to bloom. And of course, we wait for our compost to mature. Creating that beautiful, dark, crumbly black gold is a labor of love. But sometimes that labor feels very, very long. We add our kitchen scraps, our grass clippings, and our fallen leaves. We turn the pile dutifully. We hope for the best. Yet the pile can seem to sit there, stubbornly unchanged, for weeks or even months on end, which can be a source of great frustration for any gardener. I have always believed that a good garden starts with good soil. Compost is the very best way to build that soil. It enriches the earth with vital nutrients, it improves soil structure and helps retain moisture. It is the foundation of a healthy, thriving garden. So when the composting process moves at a snail's pace, it can feel like a bottleneck for all our other gardening projects. We have pots to fill and beds to amend. We need that finished compost to give our plants the best possible start. The waiting game is not always a welcome one, especially when the planting season is upon us. This slow transformation is a common hurdle. You might look at your pile and see recognizable banana peels and eggshells from weeks ago. It can make you wonder if you are doing something wrong. Is the mix of green and brown materials incorrect? Is it not getting enough air? Is it too wet or too dry? While all these factors are important, sometimes a compost pile just needs a little boost. It needs a little encouragement to get the decomposition process into high gear. It is like a good recipe. Sometimes a secret ingredient is all it takes to make it truly wonderful. I have spent years perfecting my methods in the garden. I am always looking for simple, effective ways to improve my results. The frustration of a slow-moving compost pile was a challenge I was determined to solve. I wanted a solution that was natural, easy, and most importantly, effective. I knew there had to be a better way than simply waiting and hoping. After some research and a little experimentation, I discovered a wonderful trick. It is a simple technique that has transformed my composting, and I am so excited to share it with you. It is a very good thing. The secret to accelerating your compost is likely already in your kitchen pantry. It is not a complicated chemical or an expensive commercial product. It is humble, active, dry yeast. Yes, the same yeast you use to bake a beautiful loaf of bread can work wonders in your compost bin. The idea is to create a simple, nourishing tea for your pile. This mixture will feed the microorganisms that are already hard at work, giving them the energy they need to break down organic matter much more quickly. It is an elegant solution, rooted in basic biology, and it is remarkably effective. To make this compost accelerator, you will need just 3 simple ingredients. You will need 2 packets of active dry yeast, about 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 2 gallons of warm water. The water should be warm to the touch, but not hot, as high temperatures can harm the yeast. Simply dissolve the sugar into the warm water first. The sugar acts as an immediate food source for the yeast. Then stir in the packets of yeast until they are fully dissolved. Let this mixture sit for about 20 minutes. You will see it start to foam and bubble, which is a sign that the yeast is active and ready. Once your yeast mixture is activated, it is time to apply it to your compost. The best way to do this is with a watering can. Slowly and evenly pour the entire 2 gallons of the liquid over your compost pile. Try to distribute it as much as possible so that it soaks down into the various layers. This ensures that the yeast and its sugary fuel reach deep into the pile, where the decomposition is happening. After you have applied the mixture, it is a good idea to turn the compost with a pitchfork. This helps to aerate the pile and spread the yeast solution even further. This simple act is like adding a team of new, energetic workers to your compost pile. The yeast introduces a massive population of beneficial microbes. The sugar gives them, and the existing microbes, an instant burst of energy. This combination kickstarts a flurry of activity within the pile. It is a completely natural process. You are not adding anything artificial or harmful. You are simply enhancing the natural cycle of decomposition. It is a small effort that yields truly significant rewards, helping you create rich, beautiful compost in a fraction of the usual time. To understand why this method is so effective, we must look at the science of composting. Composting is a process driven by microorganisms. Billions of tiny bacteria, fungi, and other microbes consume the organic waste in your pile, breaking it down into simpler components. Yeast is a type of single-celled fungus. When you add active dry yeast to your compost, You are essentially flooding the pile with a huge number of these powerful decomposers. They immediately get to work, consuming the simple sugars and starches present in your kitchen scraps and yard waste, which greatly accelerates the entire process. Think of your compost pile as an engine. The organic matter, the leaves, grass, and food scraps, is the fuel. The microorganisms are the engine itself, doing the work of combustion or decomposition. Usually this engine runs at a steady but sometimes slow pace. Adding the yeast and sugar mixture is like pouring high-octane fuel into the tank. The sugar provides a quick, easily accessible energy source, causing the microbial population to explode. The yeast adds more cylinders to the engine, increasing its overall power and efficiency. This surge in microbial activity generates more heat, which is a key factor in rapid composting. Heat is a telltale sign of a healthy, active compost pile. The metabolic activity of all those microbes releases energy in the form of heat. A hot pile, one that reaches temperatures between 130 and 160 degrees Fahrenheit, decomposes material much more quickly. This heat also serves the important purpose of killing weed seeds and potential pathogens that might be in your garden waste. By adding the yeast solution, you are giving the microbes the fuel they need to raise the internal temperature of the pile, creating the ideal conditions for fast, safe, and effective decomposition. This process creates a virtuous cycle. The initial burst of activity from the yeast and sugar heats the pile. This heat encourages the native thermophilic, or heat-loving bacteria, to multiply and work even harder. These bacteria are the real powerhouses of composting, capable of breaking down tougher materials like small twigs and fibrous plant stems. So, the yeast acts as a catalyst. It starts a chain reaction that awakens and energizes the entire microbial ecosystem within your compost, turning a slow, sluggish pile into a hot, active, and highly productive one. I decided to try this method on one of my own compost piles, which had been progressing rather slowly. Before adding the yeast mixture, the pile was lukewarm at best, and I could still identify much of the material I had added weeks prior. After preparing the simple solution of yeast, sugar, and warm water, I poured it evenly over the pile and gave it a thorough turn with my pitchfork. I was curious, of course, but I knew that good things in the garden often require a little time. I did not expect to see changes overnight, but I was hopeful for a positive outcome. Within just 2 days, the difference was remarkable. When I went to check on the pile, I could feel a noticeable warmth radiating from its core. I used a compost thermometer, and the temperature had already climbed to nearly 140 degrees Fahrenheit. This was a clear sign that the microbial engine had roared to life. The pile, which had been relatively static, was now visibly active. It had a pleasant, earthy smell, and I could see steam rising from it during the cool morning air. The transformation had begun, and it was happening much faster than I had anticipated. Over the next 2 weeks, the results continued to impress me. The pile broke down at an astonishing rate. Materials that would normally take months to decompose were disappearing into the dark, rich humus. The texture of the compost became finer and more uniform. The volume of the pile shrank significantly, which is another sign of efficient decomposition. What was once a heap of recognizable scraps was transforming into the beautiful, nutrient-rich soil amendment that every gardener covets. This simple, inexpensive treatment had turned my lazy compost pile into a highly efficient one. I encourage you to try this in your own garden. It is a simple, satisfying project that can make a real difference in your composting timeline. There is nothing better than creating your own wonderful compost to feed your soil and nourish your plants. Seeing the process work so quickly is incredibly rewarding. A healthy garden is a continuous cycle of growth, harvest, and renewal, and efficient composting is a key part of that beautiful cycle. For more tips on gardening and living a good life, be sure to hit the subscribe button before you go. There's always something new to learn and create.